Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 3. Let's watch.
Means that, like, I mean, I know for sure I don't want a shallow marriage relationship.
I don't know. I've never been attracted to that.
Okay.
I've never gone for that.
Okay, so to catch you up, Cole and Colleen, who was dumped by Brennan, is now attracted to Cole. Cole is also attracted to another person, so I'm worried that Colleen's going to get dumped again for a second time. It's like, ugh. But, I'm guessing it happens a lot on this show because they only show us certain people. I think after the footage has all been shot, the editors will decide, okay, we should highlight this person. So I'm guessing there's a lot of people that get rejected, maybe several times. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the individuals, for whatever reason, they latch on to 3, 4, 5 people, and all 5 people reject them in one way or another. I mean, that's just how dating works, right? So anyway, to catch you up though, Cole, is saying that he wants a very emotional, in-depth relationship. He wants to share a lot. He wants to talk about intense, meaningful things, which I have to say that makes a lot of sense to me. And a lot of the people on the show will do that. They will really self-disclose a lot and cry together and tell each other their whole life story. And that's a very bonding experience for a lot of these individuals, which is true for a lot of people. So Cole wants that, and that's completely fine. And Colleen is saying that maybe she doesn't want that, which I interpret in one of two ways. One, she just doesn't want that, and that's just fine. It's just a preference. She just likes things to be a certain way in life. Or she's defended against intensity or emotional vulnerability because of her history. I don't know. But I'm worried that she's going to get dumped again. And I will say that Colleen shouldn't be with Cole because Cole is continuing to mispronounce her name. He keeps calling her Colleen, which it's not Colleen, it's Colleen.
I don't know for me that I can do that in a marriage.
I mean, I want that serious relationship.
Yeah.
So I get that it's not super attractive to only be in those kind of shallow relationships, and I'm working on it over here. And that's all I gotta say right now. I don't know. I have no words right now just because I'm over here like wheels are turning.
Yeah, in a sense, in order for her to fully discuss this topic, she has to be vulnerable. She has to talk in a deep way. And so as she is saying, look, I'm not really into that sort of thing. I don't want that sort of thing. And it seems like you do. And then you hear her kind of running up against that barrier, I think, which is like, oh, I'm about to talk deep. I don't want to do that. Run away, or not my preference. I can't really tell which yet. And Cole is now going, I don't know if I want to be with someone like this, which, it's fine. They're dating. They're trying to figure out who is compatible and who isn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to make sense.
Like what I'm feeling right now is like you want a deep marriage, but you're still like getting there.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am there.
That's great. That was actually a pretty diplomatic and caring summary of the situation. There's a lot of different other ways he could have worded it, like, oh, you're a shallow person. I get it. He's just like, okay, well, I hear that you want to be there, but you're not there yet, and I already am there, and so maybe we're not in the same place.
I can't see myself getting on a knee
with me.
With you.
She's getting dumped again. It's sad. I feel bad for her. I feel bad that she went through that. That's got to be tough. But I'm guessing since they're focusing on her, that she is one of the people that ends up in the second phase, so maybe she does find someone.
I just feel like something's off. I feel like you're looking for someone who's a little different than me.
Maybe I am a shallow person, then, whatever, or how you're reading me, but I know I'm not.
So he didn't say that she was a shallow person. I think she said the word shallow. I think she said the word that she liked things to be more shallow, but it's not what he was saying. And I wonder if this has to do with why she has trouble dating. She would say that people would be attracted to her because of her looks, and then by the second, third date, they would say, okay, well, I guess let's end this now. And of course, according to stereotypes, it's because the men don't like commitment and they're just in it for the sex or the hookup or something. But it's possible that they actually realized that she did not want to have in-depth conversations, that she just wanted to keep it very, very surface and fun. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I can't tell what's going on with her, and maybe I'll never be able to conceptualize it, but it's totally fine that she just likes things to be surface. It also could be a result of running away from vulnerability because of traumas that she's been through.
Peace out, Cole. Peace out.
Wow.
So she says peace out. I mean, that's not incredibly hostile, but it's kind of hostile. And he was just summarizing what was happening. He wasn't, well, no, he did say, I can't imagine getting down on one knee. And yeah, he could have worded that differently, I suppose. He could have just been like, well, maybe we're not compatible, instead of like, I'm not going to gift you my proposal. You know, it could sound a little bit pompous to say it that, I don't know. But she's upset and she's hurt and now she's angry and that's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm guessing because we're focusing on her that we'll eventually see her meet someone. Yeah, I was saying this earlier, that when you decide to date, there are a number of different approaches, but some people will approach it like, ooh, I get to meet the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, or, ooh, I'm worried I'm going to get dumped, which are both possibilities, but there's this third possibility of you will be the one having to dump someone, and you will be the one to feel bad and remorseful and like you're a bad person for rejecting someone. You know, that might happen. And I'm guessing when they signed up to be on the show, they weren't like, yay, I get to feel remorse for hurting lots of people's feelings and ruining their lives on international television. That sounds like a good time, but you know, that's just part of the thing. There's not really a good way to avoid that.
Another day, another rejection.
What did he say?
I don't know, he just like kind of shot me down. I think he misread me and he was just like kind of in a way called me shallow. I think I took it wrong.
Wow.
See, she's wording it. That's not how it looked to us. She's narrativizing it in this interesting way. I didn't show the whole clip, but what he started off with is just like, hey, I'm into you, and if we're going to take it to the next level, we got to get a little bit deeper. And I think he was saying that on purpose because with other women that he was dating, it just naturally went deeper. And with her, with Colleen, it wasn't getting deeper. So he's like, hey, we got to get deeper. So he's being more intentional because it wasn't naturally going there. And then she was saying, well, yeah, it's not really my thing. I mean, I'm summarizing, but there's that. And then he's like, well, I want to be in a marriage where we're really in love with each other and we really know each other and we know each other in a really deep way. And we share with each other and we're vulnerable with each other. He wasn't using those exact words, but essentially what he's saying. He wanted an intense, emotional, deep, vulnerable experience with someone, which is fine. There's probably varying degrees of how much someone wants along those lines. But he's saying that, and she basically was saying, I don't want that. And then she actually introduced the word shallow. And then he started expressing, well, if you don't want to go there, then I don't think this is going to work, really. And then she says, peace out. And then she has this narrative.
And
What did he say?
I don't know, he just like kind of shot me down. I think he misread me and he was just like kind of in a way called me shallow. I think I took it wrong.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm reading the situation wrong.
Okay, well, that is differentiated for her to say that she's like, I don't know if I'm reading it right or wrong, that ability to put a question mark on our perception, especially in a situation like this where you're hurt and you're drinking as well. So maybe she is able to reflect and go like, well, it felt like he called me shallow, but maybe he didn't exactly call me shallow. Because that's not what I heard. I heard that he wanted to go deeper and she didn't. And he said, I don't know if this is going to work. And then she said, peace out.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that you might think, well, who cares what people think about their past dating people or their past relationships? Like, they can distort that and have a negative narrative, like, oh yeah, he's a malignant narcissist and he's a love-bombing psychopath, or, you know, whether it's accurate or not, who really cares? Well, the reason why it matters is because for the Colleens of the world, if she walks away with a very negative narrative that isn't exactly true, or it isn't the only truth, shall we say. And she says, well, the first guy didn't like me because I have a bad personality, which isn't the conclusion I would have come to. The way it looked to me was with Brennan, he actually really liked her because of her personality, but he really fell in love with someone else. And then the other narrative with Cole is, well, Cole's a jerk face and he called me shallow. That must mean I'm shallow or something. And that isn't what Cole said. What Cole said was what I said. And so she could walk away with thinking, I'm shallow and I have no personality and no one's ever going to love me. And that's just the way that it is. And if you start to develop this kind of schema, you have to defend against it somehow. There has to be some way of fighting against it or dealing with it. And there are 3 different styles we have for dealing with schemas. One is to surrender to it, to just say, yep, I guess I'm shallow, I'm worthless, no one's ever going to love me. And then you might try to eke out closeness or togetherness with people, but you fully know that eventually they're going to break up with you because you're shallow and no one's ever going to love you except for how you look. That's surrendering to it. And you might actually engineer your life such that it happens. You might date certain people that you know are going to do that to you, that sort of thing. The second style is to avoid. So you might avoid relationships altogether. And then the third style is to overcompensate. So she could become very intellectual and learn all these interesting things and sort of fake her way through a conversation as a way of trying to overcome what she believes to be true about herself, which is that she's shallow and uninteresting and unlovable. All 3 of those styles will actually perpetuate the problem and cause more reasons to believe that she is shallow and unlovable. Whereas if she develops a schema that's different of just like, well, dating. I mean, when people are talking with me about this, if Colleen came to me and was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me, I'd be like, wait. You're dating. Like, don't conclude anything about yourself while you are dating, particularly in this context. There's nothing about you that you could say. It just didn't work out. It just was incompatible or not the right place, right time. If Brennan hadn't met Alexa, I'm looking at my notes, then he might still be talking to you and then that would develop and you'd be in love. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with you. You're dating. Just don't conclude anything about yourself. The second thing is like, there's probably someone out there that has a compatibility with you along these lines. Well, first off, I would really explore whether or not she is defending herself against vulnerability or she just doesn't really like to go there. And, as a therapist, it's hard for me to imagine that being very healthy to just be that phobic of vulnerability. But I don't know. Obviously I haven't assessed her, but there's a possibility that I could find a place if she were to fully describe her life and her relationship with vulnerability. It might be like, oh, okay, she can be vulnerable when she needs to be, like when she was crying previously when Brennan broke up with her, that was pretty vulnerable. And I think she's being vulnerable right now. And she seems pretty differentiated too. If she were less differentiated, less able to look at herself and go like, I wonder if I'm not looking at that right. I might be more prone to the second conceptualization that she's avoiding vulnerability. I don't know. But that'd be the first thing I try to determine because that's pretty important in a variety of domains in life. But then the other thing is, if she's asking me to help her with her dating life, which happens sometimes, clients sometimes come to me for that primarily or as a part of the various different things they want help with. And I would work with her on how to date with expectations that are non-harmful to her and also how to find someone that is compatible with her, how to detect that, right? She might be able to ask questions of people depending on, if we did find that this was non-pathological vulnerability avoidance, she could actually talk with people and be like, so I like to keep things kind of surface. I like to get deep, but not like terribly deep because, I don't know, I just like to keep things light and fun and not super intense. It's not really my style. What about you? There'd be a way to screen people, I suppose. And there's a lid for every pot. There's probably a lot of people out there that would like that as well. And so that's what I would do with her, I'm thinking.
When it's rejection and then rejection right after, of course I'm gonna feel, am I doing something wrong? He ended things. Hi.
Right, there's that perspective, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong? And it's just like, it's just compatibility, right place, right time. People draw so many conclusions. I'll work with people, or I'll have friends that will go on one date. They'll finally get the nerve up to go online and meet someone, and then they meet someone, or they'll finally get the nerve up to ask someone out at work, and the dating situation doesn't go well. It's not disastrous, but it doesn't go well. And they're just like, I give up. And I'm always like, it's a numbers game. You're rolling the dice, and you're trying to come up with a very specific number, and you might get it on the first try, but the chances are pretty low, and you just got to keep rolling. Bob, my co-host on the podcast, he dated something like 300, 400, 500 women before he found his Colleen. His wife is Colleen and pronounces it correctly, by the way, like she does.
Went through a whole mental breakdown a second ago. With Brennan and with Cole, they have said they don't see anything serious with me in the long run. How you doing?
Yeah, it's interesting how she's framing it, because that's not how I heard it. How I heard it was with Brennan was he fell in love with someone else. He thought something might work out with Colleen, but he really fell in love with Alexa, as evidenced by the fact that they are together now, right? Maybe not in this timeline, but eventually. And with Cole, he felt pretty connected, but it was very surface, and he wanted to go deeper, and she didn't. And he's like, I don't know if this is going to work out. So her narrative about it, I think, is her, and maybe that's part of it, actually. Well, so just based on the data so far, I mean, who knows? But maybe because of her relational traumas, or even dating traumas, not trauma, but relational difficulties, because the word trauma can be used in a variety of different ways in my field. But for her, again, this is total speculation, that she got rejected and feels there's something wrong with her. And I'm guessing that's based on things in her past as well, something that she feels deficient and somehow defective somehow. I don't know. I'm hearing that in her language, kind of. And maybe someone in her earlier dating life did explicitly say to her, I don't want to be with you because I don't feel anything here, or something like that. Who knows? And she just is really latched onto that idea that people don't feel things with me. They don't feel things with me. So there are three ways of dealing with schemas, right? We have the surrender and the avoidance and the overcompensation. Well, one way to avoid dealing with the schema of I am shallow or no one feels a connection with me is to avoid connection with people. So while she's dating, she could have an impulse to connect, an impulse to have vulnerability. But then a part of her is like, why open up? Because they're just going to reject you, because they're not going to feel a connection with you. And you can see how this would be self-perpetuating, right? Because I believe that people won't feel a connection with me. And my way of dealing with that is to avoid connecting with other people, to avoid opening up, because I'm afraid to be rejected. People aren't going to feel connected with me, and I have more reason to believe that people aren't going to be connected to me, and thus I have more reasons to hold up this wall. The more I say this, the more I like this conceptualization, this hypothesis. I, of course, have no idea, but it certainly fits the data, right?
I was excited, but after my past 2 rejections, I'm nervous. I feel like they're just judging me as a super shallow person. I'm not saying I don't want to talk about being super deep with our feelings. I'm just really learning how to grow up just a little bit, open up, and be clear on what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really, really do.